Recently, two of my male friends who do not know each other have expressed feeling doomed in the dating world. They are genuinely and seriously considering finding a wife through an arranged marriage in a country where this practice is a normal part of the culture. These guys are good-looking, high earners with so much to offer, and it just blows my mind. What is happening? Can someone help me understand? Mom, 38. Confused. Update. Wow, this got a lot of attention. The comments are all so insightful. As a woman, I cannot speak for the experience of men, but I can say on behalf of the good women out there that we are real. We are looking for the good men, you guys, the ones commenting here. I think the apps are out to frustrate us all, to be honest. Story 1. I work with a guy who used an international dating site to meet his wife. I assumed it was the mail order bride thing I'd heard people joke about, but it was more like an international matchmaking service. The first time I met his wife, I was expecting their relationship to be a bit colder, since in my mind it was just a transactional relationship between someone who wanted to leave their country and someone who was willing to cast the line that far, so to speak. But they genuinely love one another and frequently travel back to Eastern Europe to see her family. He felt like dating culture in the United States was more about constantly looking for the next slightly hotter or more successful person to jump to. So he made the choice to look elsewhere for someone that he could have a genuine connection with and could function as a team to work towards what they both wanted, while both having similar values that he struggled to find in his local dating scene. Story 2. The biggest irony is that most of the time, the women who especially want to marry foreigners are the ones who aren't considered traditional enough by their local men. For example, in my country, there are a lot of women who want to marry foreign men because they want to get rid of many traditions that are common in this culture. So they inevitably see these foreign men as a freedom card. I'm not necessarily saying it is a bad thing. I'm just pointing out that men here call these women modern women because they don't want to live their lives like previous generations. But of course, if we compare these women to American ones, they are way more traditional than them. Story 3. I didn't opt for a foreign wife and am not married, but I'm telling you my story. I'm a Hispanic with dual citizenship who has tried to date in the United States, and it is absolutely brutal. Flakiness, entitlement, and lack of social cohesion have resulted in a dating nightmare here. Dating apps are a sham. Most men are not successful there. The best option for me has been dating abroad or dating foreigners here. There's just some physical component women here aren't interested in me for, as well as a cultural component that prevents us from connecting. I work hard enough, make 6 figures, own my own place, am in shape and don't have children, and it's still a nightmare. We have destroyed places where men and women meet, and it's a minefield because you don't know who's receptive to approach or not. Story 4. I have a friend who divorced in his late 40s after his kids were adults. The split wasn't amicable, as both halves of the couple were not happy in their long-time relationship. Being out of the dating pool for a couple of decades made things hard for him. He quickly learned his age, introversion, job, earnings, and availability were big disadvantages. His sister even went so far as to bluntly tell him that as a potential partner, he didn't have much to offer a woman. That really stung. Through therapy, discussion, and introspection, he came to understand his sister was wrong, but also determined he was looking where his worth may not be valued. As a result, he looked at overseas agencies. His logic was simple. What isn't much to someone may be life-changing to someone else. Through a lot of research, he found a Central European agency that focused on pairing older people with age-appropriate matches. He met a woman close to his age, late 30s, widowed with a couple of young kids. After much online discussion and a few physical meetups where she lived, she said she wanted a better life for her family and wasn't interested in having more kids. He said he didn't want to live in Belarus but would sponsor her and bring the family to the United States. They saw value in each other that was difficult to find in their respective locations and were motivated to try. She moved, they married, and he became a dad for the second time. From what I've seen, their relationship is very pragmatic, but they show each other a fair amount of tolerance and grace. She says it's not much different from couples she knows in arranged marriages back home. Whatever the case, I can tell he's different with her than he was with his first wife. Maybe it's age. Maybe he just better understands his needs and can communicate more effectively than he could at 20 years old. Whatever the case, He appears motivated to make it work. I don't know if it will last forever or until the next batch of kids become adults, but they're both trying. Story 5. I worked in Eastern Europe for a couple of years. Several guys I worked with married fantastic-looking women from that country. They are still married 18 years later. Many of those women came to the United States and took the opportunity to go to college, got advanced degrees, and were very ambitious because they had nothing in their home country and still took very good care of their families and husbands. Story 6. I haven't dated a foreign girlfriend, but I do somewhat understand why some men might find it appealing. The modern dating scene is absolutely terrible for all but the most attractive and wealthiest men. I can't speak to women's experience, but I do know they have a lot more choices. I've seen female friends swipe on dating apps like Tinder, and every right swipe is a match. For me, I'm lucky to get 1 or 2 matches per month. The majority of matches I get never reply to me when I message them or are bots or promotional accounts. The few women who do reply either let the conversation fizzle out with one-word responses, unmatch me quickly, or ghost me when I ask them out. I have had a couple of relationships start from dating apps, but they both only lasted a maximum of 2 to 3 months. It seems like she got bored, started looking for reasons to start fights, and then broke up with me over nothing major. It's all just exhausting. Opening these apps every day, swiping a lot, and sending numerous messages to get literally nothing back on most days really affects your self-worth after a while. It makes the loneliness worse and makes you feel like maybe something is wrong with you. But dating outside the apps isn't much better. I took the advice of just deleting them all and focusing on my hobbies and improving myself. I did that for years. My career is in a great spot now. I'm living in the city, making 6 figures, have my own car, and enjoy my hobbies. But I never meet single women at any hobby or event I attend. I've approached women in public, but it often ends up with dirty looks or being told off for daring to approach a woman in public. I've gotten comments saying it's creepy to approach women you don't know in public. So there's so much nonsense to navigate. Men are touch-starved and missing any kind of love, intimacy, or affection in their lives and feel like there's nothing they can do about it. I feel great about myself and my career, but it hasn't made things any easier for me. So I understand why some guys would look elsewhere when the current dating scene is so awful and makes you feel terrible constantly. Story 7. Western online dating is a challenging experience, often filled with scams or women with shallow aspirations. Additionally, some men feel that there is little time to engage in traditional dating due to work commitments, and the overall experience can be prohibitively expensive in terms of money and stress with little to no gain. This is not to say that things aren't difficult for women in other respects, as there is also the issue of men using dating apps solely for hookups and not wanting to settle down. A single man, age 39, content to be alone. Story 8. A friend of mine just did this exact thing. He was tired of Western women and their unrealistic expectations of him while not allowing him to express any expectations of them. The general theme he said he saw was, men are the worst. They're also idiots. Use him until something better comes along. Note he's basically an average guy, not ugly, not handsome, owns a small business but doesn't make crazy money, etc. He also told me he got tired of being the only one capable of cooking in his relationships. He wasn't saying that the woman's place is in the kitchen, but he wanted to be with someone who was capable of making a meal. He also felt like he was dating another dude most of the time. The two I recall him dating who were generally pretty feminine also had the thing where they really liked attention from as many men as they could get. He met a woman from Southeast Asia who is modern by their standards and conservative by ours, and they match well. He got a ton of criticism from women he knew for being sexist or something, but I watched him deflect one woman's statement about what he should want by saying something like, "You have every right to be whoever and however you want to be. I have every right not to want that," which infuriated her even though she wasn't interested in dating him to begin with. Anyhow, he's super happy. His new wife is awesome and treats him better than anyone in the United States ever did. And he is currently learning her language so he can speak properly with his extended family, and he treats her like a queen. So, too long didn't read. A lot of guys don't want what modern Western women have to offer, so they look elsewhere. It's not about finding someone simple that they can control. It's about finding someone who has traits they can appreciate, and who can appreciate the man's traits in return. Story 9. I've seen it with acquaintances and friends from a more matchmaking culture. Indian, Muslim, Nigerian, Moroccan, etc. They resist family suggestions and recommendations for matches from their native country, preferring solo dating on their own, until they are fed up and tell their family to go ahead with matchmaking, get tens of matches over the years, and eventually find one, marry them, and bring their new spouse to Canada. One caveat is that these cultures don't do divorce and are big on multiple generations and family living close to each other, which is difficult to mesh with our nuclear family-only, divorce-friendly, single-parenthood-friendly dating culture, making it harder for them to date here. Not to mention that those cultures tend to frown upon interfaith, interethnic, or even intercaste marriages. Dating someone from back home would reduce a lot of tension and estrangement between their own family and that of their parents and cousins. Story 10. Or traveling to a foreign country where selecting a wife in an arranged marriage type setting is normal and part of the culture. That only works within the context of the culture. You cannot just be a random guy from the United States, go to a country with arranged marriages, and expect it to happen. I do know several second-generation Indian individuals who have gone down this path because, as others have said, dating is really hard these days. I have not noticed them being any different from other marriages. Modern arranged marriages are much closer to going on blind dates, just with a strong focus on marriage, than even 20 years ago when you could plausibly only meet the person at a formal engagement before getting married. Story 11. What is happening? Can someone help me understand? My last few relationships have been with women who are power-drunk, controlling, full of double standards, and gaslighting based on political views. I'm a relatively apolitical person, but if I didn't know any better, I'd say women just dislike men and get some kind of sick pleasure out of it. I can't seem to find a woman who is self-responsible, self-aware, and just reasonable. I just want to date a woman who is a decent human being, but the amount of selfishness, stubbornness, and lack of empathy in the dating pool feels disgusting. I'm 33 and somewhat jaded. While I am dating a woman now who is honestly unlike the other women I've dated, so far she is everything the women I've typically dated are not, and I'm hoping that continues. If she doesn't work out, I think I'll just call it a day because I've got better things to do with my time than deal with a woman trying to force me into a game of dance monkey dance. I sacrificed a lot of fun in my 20s to be a suitable partner for someone. I worked my way up the corporate chain because I wanted to be a father. Now it's like, why didn't I just have fun and be carefree, because that seems to be the way to succeed in a relationship. The girl I'm seeing now just got back from a 3-week stay with her mom up north. So I got her a balloon, a streamer, and made a big welcome home sign with my 3rd grade artistic ability. I sat on the back of my truck bed with all 3 while she pulled up. Her telling me it was the best welcome home ever was the greatest thing ever. I love doing things like that. I love making a woman feel special. I'm just tired of it not being appreciated because I must have some kind of hidden agenda besides just being a good boyfriend who's trying to make her laugh. Story 12. Women I've dated just seem to be moving from relationship to relationship, picking up rings like Tom Brady, and never fully able to let go of the one that hurt them the most, which in turn validates a lot of the sayings that men have for women. They want what they can't have, and as soon as we show availability and vulnerability and begin caring, it can be weaponized and manipulated for control. Younger men stick in these situations too long, get hurt, and become jaded. Older men bail on a woman if she's 30 minutes late to the first date. Even when I find someone I connect with on every level, she ends up running back and marrying her abusive boyfriend because she believes she's trauma bonded. It makes you sick, and you throw your hands in the air and really deeply give up. Story 13. At 33, I married a foreigner legitimately, shortly after Tinder gained popularity. I am old enough to remember what life was like before social media and even before phones dominated everyone's lives. Western dating is impersonal, brutal, shallow, and a tangle of ever-changing rules. Dating a foreigner brings a host of complications unique to each culture, but at least you're likely not dealing with someone constantly scrolling through TikTok, learning about 2,000 signs that their partner could be a covert narcissist. The world is just different than it was 10 years ago. Connections are extremely difficult to build. Social media made the world wide but shallow. Friend groups in reality are much smaller now, which limits new acquaintances. You don't get to know someone and have a will they won't they anymore. She has to be struck by something about you, and you have to recognize it and go for it right then when she's available, and not slip up in that opportunity. It's like jumping out of a helicopter to grab a tree branch. The number of single people is increasing, and I'm not surprised at all that apparently well-off men are also feeling doomed. The old mechanisms to meet people are gone,